Hello, hello. Welcome to another Fox 411 and Kiss Country Neighborhood News. It's all brought to you by CG Public Health, cghealth.com. Thank them very much. Today we have well, you know what? I want to say a new guest, and a guest that's been here quite a few times, and that's Mary Ingham from Crisis Intervention Service, and also Dave Hepperly. This is Chief Deputy David Hepperly. So, and we're going to discuss April this month is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So, hello, both of you. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Dave, we don't know much about you. So here's your chance. Tell us about you. Yeah. You've been in law enforcement for a while.
I have. I started over at Mason City PD back in the 80s. I've been with Sheriff Pals here at the Sheriff's Office since 2002. So I'm on my 22nd year as the chief at the Sheriff's Office. So
yeah.
Now, do I see a bunch of your name with signs in the yards?
I believe you probably have. Yes, the last few weeks.
Okay. I just want to make sure it was you.
It's not a warrant.
No, it's me.
Okay. All right. What do they want you to do? Or what do you want people to do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what the signs say.
That's right.
So I never lived in Sarasota County, so I never got a vote if I was going to for Sheriff Pals.
Right.
All right. Yeah. You need to move over to the east a little bit.
Oh yeah. Now I'm here. So
are. Okay.
Now I can vote. So you got to be nice to me now.
Oh, here we go. He's starting the bribing already. Yeah, I love it. Mary, how are things going with you in crisis intervention? I know we're going to get into it here and we're going to get serious here, but how is life?
Life is good. We've been pretty busy this month, and we're busy all the time, which is why we're here.
Yeah. So that's right.
Yeah.
You'd rather not be busy though, right?
I would love to be unemployed because we have solved all violence in the world.
Yes.
And then I would come after one of your jobs.
Hey, I'm about ready to retire.
If that's the case, Dave, you'll be sheriff for the rest of the creation. I mean, just the rest of till eternity and everything else. So if you've done that, that's right. All right, Mary. So this month of April, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Why don't you explain what that is, even though we do.
So in all reality, for people like myself and Dave and probably a good majority of the population, every day is Sexual Assault Awareness Day. Most people are fully well aware that it is an issue, but throughout this month, we really work hard to raise awareness, make sure that every single human being in North Central Iowa knows where to go for help and support if they are a victim of abuse or someone they love or care about is a victim. We also just want to take a moment to highlight the great work being done in North Iowa. I think sometimes we take for granted how well different community organizations work together. I travel quite a bit for my job and go to a variety of conferences and networking meetings all over the United States. And the collaborations we have in North Iowa are truly unique. It's oftentimes people work in silos and have turf wars about, who's doing the most work or who's doing the best work. And in North Iowa, we all work together to make sure that victims are being kept safe and offenders are held accountable. And I think that's the beautiful piece of this.
Is there a certain county that you oversee, or is it unlimited? How far out you go?
Our organization we provide sexual assault services in 15 counties in North Central Iowa. So quite a few.
Yeah. You are definitely out there, that's for sure.
I am out there.
And I think it's great that I've known Mary. Jay, you've known Mary. Dave, you know Mary. We've known Mary for so long. She does such a great job down there, and everybody down at Crisis Intervention. And, you kind of wonder if they ever have good days. But I think it's what you do and the difference you're making helps you. Don't you think it helps you mentally?
I agree. In all honesty, I have more good days than bad. And it sounds a little maybe sick and twisted. We meet people on the worst day of their life. We meet people when a horrific crime has happened to them. But we have the privilege of walking alongside them and watching them heal and grow, become stronger people. and kind of that ultimately they take their life back, and we get to be a part of that.
Yeah.
While I wish we didn't have the suffering. I wish we didn't have to meet people in their darkest days. It really is great work. The other thing is we get to work with some fabulous people. North Iowans really care about supporting their communities, supporting local nonprofits, supporting law enforcement. We are truly blessed.
Now, is there funding that you need at all, Mary?
Absolutely.
Do you?
Yes. So we are a private nonprofit organization. The majority of our services are funded through competitive grants that we go after every year. On the federal level, we're looking at a very significant decrease in funding this next year. So we are really out there trying to make sure that we can maintain our level of services. So we're always looking for donations.
Right. And and Dave, let's get you here on the conversation. So I'm assuming the answer might be both, but you can get involved first, and sometimes crisis intervention might get a hold, come into it first, right? But you guys piggyback each other all the time.
Right. Yeah. It might be an instance where we get a call first at the sheriff's office and we respond to an incident, or we may get a call from crisis and say we had a victim present or call the office there, and then we would get a call from crisis, and then basically our team kicks in at that point. And we, like Mary said earlier, we have great collaboration with our coalition, and we've got a lot of different disciplines that are involved in the coalition, and they all play important parts in serving the victims.
So, Mary, with Crisis Intervention Center being in Mason City, do you call Mr. Hepperly, or do you call the sheriff department over in Hancock County or whatever county that it might be in?
We call whatever county the crime occurs in.
Right. Okay.
So.
How many times so let's face it, sexual assault is a crime.
Yes.
How many times, I don't know, give me a percentage. What's there's a crime already that happened versus a crime maybe is about to happen? I mean, don't you try to smooth things over, but I can see both here. Almost 50-50 if I were to guess, but I don't know. You guys are the experts. Tell me, has sexual assault already happened when you get the call, or is it about to happen? Everybody's getting a hold of you today.
Yeah.
Busy day.
Unfortunately, I can't mute this new phone.
Oh,
sorry. Going to your question though, at the sheriff's office,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean,
most of our calls come in after a crime's occurred to the sheriff's office, and there is a wide variety. I mean, it might be something that has just occurred and is being reported, but we oftentimes with sexual assault cases, we may have a report that the assault may have happened weeks, months, even years ago. There's a wide variety. And what we want the public to know is that every report is taken seriously, no matter what length of time from when it occurred until it was reported, that we investigate.
And I think, Mary, probably the challenge for a lot of them that go through this is just to even speak up in the first place. That's probably the biggest challenge on this whole thing.
Absolutely. And for us, the majority of the people that are reaching out to us are reaching out after a crime has occurred.
Right.
On the flip side of that, we also do quite a bit of prevention and education work in the schools. So the goal of those prevention programs are to hopefully prevent that first time abuse. So we're kind of doing a blend of both of those services. But when we look at the number of people, for example, just in Saragordo County that reported sexual assault in the last year, we had 110 adults and then 93 teens and children that have been sexually abused in some point, plus an additional 10 people that were adults that were abused as children that were reporting for the first time, which I think is an important number, because even though I'm coming on the radio all the time talking about our services everywhere I go, I'm handing out business cards like I'm some kind of celebrity. No matter where I go, to a speaking group or a service club, there's always people in the room that have never ever heard of us. And
Really?
yeah,
That's
I know it's
wild.
impossible to think, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is that oftentimes people will call and say, I've never told anyone, or this happened to me 50 years ago and I told my teacher, she didn't believe me, so I didn't talk about it.
Sweep it under the rug.
And
Yeah.
sweep it under the rug and it won't go away.
Yeah.
It just gets worse. We know that talking helps. We know that
Yeah.
the most important thing, if someone discloses abuse to you, is to believe them and get them help. It's not your job as a friend, as a coworker, to investigate the crime and hold the bad chap accountable. It's your job to listen and believe and support them.
You know, when you talk about this, you know, sexual assault, sexual awareness, a lot of times you think talking about the younger children and the women, but it actually happens, doesn't it, to a small percentage of men?
I wouldn't say a small percentage. We know, just based on when we talk about sexual violence, sexual abuse, that's any type of unwanted sexual touching. I think the stigma for young men, teens, young boys to come forward is even stronger than for women. A lot of research will indicate half of all women have been sexually fondled, harassed, abused on some level. That's everything from words to hands. 1 in 3 men have as well. And I mean, this is sexual harassment, this is unwanted touching, but we also know with child sexual abuse is an equal opportunity form of violence. And
Sure.
the data is about 50-50 as far as male and female victims.
Wow. That's surprising.
Yeah.
Dave, let me ask you what this is kind of a difficult question, but why does this happen? Is it desires? Is it addictions? Is it just some anger management? I mean, I don't know. What's your take on all this? Why does it even happen?
Well, I think you could put all of those into the, that category, but I think the overwhelming thing is that choices that people make, and they're bad choices. That's about as best as I can analyze it. It's just choices that people make. I think a lot of times they know better, but if it's drugs, alcohol, whatever's involved in it, then that lets them cross over the line, and then we may have a crime occur at that point. But there's a lot of different factors that go into that.
Mary, here's a strange one. Have you ever had, let's talk about the desires a little bit, for men on young girls, boys, whatever. Have you ever gotten calls at crisis intervention from people that like saying, listen, I'm having these thoughts and I need to talk to somebody about it? I mean, I know that if you're the one doing the assaulting, obviously you don't think about all that stuff. But just, it's just reaching out and talk to somebody about it.
Every once in a while, and I would say we might get 2 to 3 calls a year, so pretty low.
Okay.
Of someone who has maybe committed a crime of violence, sexual violence, that's reaching out for help. And what we do is we take all of those calls just as seriously as any of our other calls.
Right.
We don't specialize in that form of advocacy and counseling, but we connect them with local therapists and counselors that do. What we do know is, I think a lot of times when people think of sexual assault, they think it's all about sex, and the reality is it's about power.
Power. Yeah.
Most people that are rapists, sexual abusers, are in relationships and having consensual sex, but then they also have this power need that they're fulfilling elsewhere.
Now, Officer Hepperly, when you go out, you get a call. Do you have to take 2 people with you, another officer with you, when you get a report on some of this?
Yes, that's our protocol, to have 2 officers call like that. We would always take 2 if we have 2 available. That's not always the case, depending on our manpower situation. But we make the initial contact, and then we find out from the information that we get from the victim what our next steps will be. And that's why it's important to remember here in North Iowa with the coalition that we have, there are so many different members of the coalition. And so once we get a case presented, we're able to call our other partners and bring everybody together. That way we make the best case outcomes for the victim. So there's several different groups that would get involved in an investigation from, if we were the first on scene to respond, and then we would reach out to our other people from the coalition, and then the case would go forward using that multidisciplinary steps through the case.
So how much time? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Either one of you, Mary or Dave, what do you find that sometimes people don't call in because they're afraid? I mean, they're afraid to call in because they think, oh my gosh, I don't want to get them arrested or her arrested, but afraid of just the consequences if they did call and that person found out about it.
Yeah, frequently that is some of the feedback that we get. And let's just take a scenario where somebody does report, but it may have been, a week or longer.
Sure.
And that is a lot of what delays reporting, fear of reprisals from the perpetrator, shame of having it happen. So we do frequently see that in a lot of the cases.
What's the current law right now on how much time served for if you are convicted of sexual assault?
Well, it all depends on the level of the sexual assault. There are different degrees for sexual assault cases. So most are in felony levels. So you'd be looking at least 5 years and up for a charge that would be a sentence if you were convicted.
Okay. That's a good scared straight thing for anybody watching or even listening to this podcast. Remember, Crisis Intervention Service, their phone number is 641-424-9133, or you can go to cishelps.org, cishelps.org. What are you doing, Mary, I guess, other than just doing this interview here, and how you getting the word out about all this awareness of the fact that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month?
So our primary awareness activity this month has been going out to schools, doing individual classroom presentations, all age levels. Next week, we're going to dazzle our friends at the West Fork School District, which I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but I might. But we've been
there. Are you a Rockwell or a Swelldale gal?
I'm a Swelldalian.
Okay, all right.
But I love all the schools.
Right.
So we're doing quite a few school presentations, and then I'll let Dave talk about an activity we're doing later this month at NIAC.
Right. On the 25th of April, the coalition members will be at NIAC at the Activity Center from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to visit with staff and students at NIAC. And we are excited to be there, and we'll engage with the folks that come up to our table if they're not afraid to talk to the uniforms or the other folks that'll be there that aren't in uniform. Usually it's easier to talk to them, but a lot of times we try and get them to talk to the cops. So, and on a serious note with that, there are a lot of times that we will have someone come up and say, hey, I had a friend and this happened to this friend, or something happened to me, in the past. And I've always wondered if they haven't been able to tell anybody, what should I do? So reaching out to people by going to these events, a lot of times you will find people that want to tell you stories about what has happened to them in the past. And in whatever way that, that story plays out, we can suggest some help for them too. So
yeah, it's not like you're going to go follow them to the house and arrest somebody.
No, that's not the case.
Right. But some people, I'm sure, might think that, if you tell on somebody, you're going to follow them there and take care of business.
Right.
I think that's the secret to what you guys do. I think is just the fact of listening, being approachable, people coming up, wanting to talk to you, I mean, it's it's probably it's like, oh boy, guy in a uniform, oh my gosh, and here I am, and it's probably a little bit intimidating, but I
I
think
get that way.
yeah. Everybody wants to come talk to us, but I think it's great that you guys are approachable and and you're here to help, and that's what people got to remember. That it's just like
Yeah.
Mary. Mary is probably the most approachable type person. I can talk to her about anything. So
Oh, I hope so.
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and it's great that you're going to the kids and getting the word out there as well. And Dave, do you show up for that too then, or the officers show up, or is it just Mary, or is it a combined effort type thing?
He's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Well, on the 25th, that event we planned, and I'm not sure if Mary's going to be at that one. I believe she may be tied up that day, but I will be there with some other coalition members, so I'll be at that. And as far as the Rockwell event, I don't. Mary's going to have to tell you who's going to be there.
So for a lot of the school events, we do those on our own. A lot of times we're in a school maybe 2 to 3 full days. It's really hard to pull law enforcement off the street for that long. But there are a lot of times we'll have activities or outreach efforts where we do like to pull them in, because I do think it's important that the community realizes. I mean, Dave and I can come on here and jabber our jaws about how we work well together. But
Right.
I think it's important for the community to see us out and about together, actually doing what we say we're doing.
I got to say something off subject here, Dave. That's the most incredible ring tone I've ever heard, ever. It
It's
sounds
his
like a circus and an emergency all at the same time.
There you
It's his,
go.
it's his wife calling him.
Maybe it's an emergency at the circus.
Maybe that's what.
Yeah.
If it was
be.
the wife, I probably would have had to answer it after the second time. So.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, everybody. I gotta get this.
Once again, Crisis Intervention Service. They're right there. There's going to be somebody to answer the phone. If you want to see them, great. It's 641-424-9133, or go to cishelps.org, cishelps.org. All right. Thank you, Chief Deputy David Hepperly, joining us. And, of course, the lovely Mary Ingham. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you too.
Thank you.
Fox 411 and Kiss Country Neighborhood News, all brought to you by CG Public Health, cghealth.com.